Hey guys, Coach Lemon here. Going to do a quick live training. Wanted to go over a couple things and get a live training in. So, also, if you're not signed up for my newsletter, go to johnlemon.com, sign up for my newsletter, and you will get all the information about lesson specials and when I'm going live and other things going on. I've also got a book coming out, which is very exciting, and information about that was on the newsletter as well. So let's get started. I wanted to go over a couple things. We're talking about training your mind and lowering your scores. One of the things that I've really been looking at lately with my students and going over things, I've actually been following a lot of other great coaches and people as well online that we've been talking about practice. And I think practice is really everything with golf, especially this time of year when people are going to simulators or maybe they're finally getting back outside since the weather's pretty decent. And we're actually going to be able to practice. And so, what does practice look like? How do you practice? What's the best way to practice? And honestly, I'm sorry to say this, me included, but we do a very, very, very poor job of practicing as golfers. Now, pro golfers, high level college players, high school players, basically high level players of any kind, scratch or whatever, do an extremely good job of practicing. And that's why they do so well on the course. And I think, again, like I said, I just think, as a whole, golfers, we just do a terrible job of practicing. And I think the biggest thing is we do all these things we think we're practicing, but we're not actually getting better. And the number one thing we need to do is we need to have an idea of what we're doing or why we're doing what we're doing. So why are we practicing? What's a goal? So we need to have an end result for this practice session. Don't just rent out a simulator or go get a big bucket of balls and hit ball after ball after ball and be like, oh, I got an hour practicing. Yeah, but what did you do? Like, what did you actually do in that practice? So have a specific list of results that you're trying to have with this practice session. Some of those could be I'm going to work on my wedge distances today for the first 20 minutes. And that's great. But then also have an actual plan of what you're actually going to be doing for that first 20 minutes. Anytime you go and practice, whether it's on the range or simulator or whatever, make sure that you have a warm up period, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever that is, but have a warm up routine that you use when you're getting started before you go practice. And what I suggest is it doesn't have to be super long, again, 5 or 10 minutes. One of the things that I think would be great is to have a practice routine that you use every time you go to either simulator or go to the range to get warmed up, and you use the same exact practice routine, warm up routine, every time you go and play. And again, it doesn't have to be super long. If you're kind of the guys, kind of players or guys or girls that are just going out to just have a good time, and you're not necessarily playing in a competition, you're not on a tour, you're not playing in college or anything like that. You still should have a quick warm-up routine, and it's just whether it's just if you don't go to the range, at least few swings, some chips and putts, and things like that. But the key, I think, is to have the exact same practice routine, whatever that practice routine, warm up routine is, whatever that warm up routine is, use the same warm up routine every time, whether you're going to play or whether you're going to practice. And I think the more you do that, the more you'll get used to that, the more your body will be used to that and your mind will be used to that and be ready to play. So you go, you do your 5 or 10 minutes of warm up, and then you play. And whether that's on the range or whether you actually go out and play 9 holes or 18 holes, I think if you do the same thing over and over again, it's really going to help your practice. But again, we want to make sure that we're scheduling out what we're doing in our practice. We have an outcome that we want to have. We know what we're doing, and we know what we're working on. As far as figuring out what you need to work on, that's probably a whole nother whole nother live lesson about that. And knowing what to work on, there's multiple ways to do that. I could also help you as well. So whether you're working on drills with your coach or whatever. But again, most of the time we do a very, very, very poor job of practicing. And I believe that because we do such a bad job of practicing, we don't really get better and we don't end up playing better. But yeah, most golfers just don't improve in practice. Many golfers just practice to practice. I just kind of talked about that. They just go out there and just say, oh, cool. What'd you do this week? Oh, I practiced 2 times. I had 2 hours. I'm like, okay, great. What did you actually do? Did you actually improve anything in your game? Did you actually work on some things you need to work on, or you just go over there and hit 7 iron after 7 iron after 7 iron? Or sometimes, and I've done this myself in the past, like, oh, I'm going to go to the range and just hit my favorite club. Let's just hit my 8 iron, hit, a bucket full of 8 irons and then leave. I'm like, man, I really practiced. I'm like, yeah, but did you look at a target? Did you start with working on some drills for your swing? Or were you just hitting ball after ball after ball? Were you even, I mean, and I'm fine with hitting a bunch of balls too, but like, were you looking at your dispersion pattern? Did you see like, okay, I hit 40 balls with an 8 iron. Well, how big is my dispersion? Where do those balls go? Like some kind of feedback, something from your practice that you can take away and know that you're getting better. Anthony Kim, which is AKA, had has just an amazing story. You guys have probably heard about him. His big thing, he just won a tournament on Live after being out of golf for like 10 years or something. Just the most amazing story. His recovery story is just so awesome. But one of the things he talks about, and you see on his social media, where he talks about getting 1% better, 1% better every day. And if you think about that, you kind of go in with that mindset for your practice session that I'm going to get 1% better. What is that? Like, okay, my wedges need some work. I need to figure out my yardages on my wedges. I think that's a great way to go in and then just be like, okay, if you're at a TrackMan or something like that, they've got kind of like the wedge combine or some different things to work on. Those things are so great because then you're actually working and you're actually getting better and you're actually looking for a better result. So the other thing is, make sure that, I'm a big fan of doing block practice, practicing the same thing over and over again, but also make sure you do some random reps, and create some random things. And if you're just like, if you're going to, let's say you're going to a range again, it's getting kind of warm today. You could probably hit the range today here in Ohio, which is a gorgeous day. But just like focus on a target. Like, okay, so let's just say you're hitting your driver and working your driver. And you're like, okay, I'm going to work on my driver today. I'm going to work on a few swing drills that my coach gave me or something that I've come up with to get warmed up, to try to hit a little farther. And then I'm going to work on where the ball is going, like how narrow it is. And so you've picked a couple of spots out on the driving range. Like, okay, this tree over here is the right side of the fairway. And then about 30 or 40 yards to the left of that is the left side of the fairway. And my normal shot shape is a little bit of a fade. So I'm going to aim down the left side. I'm going to do my full pre-shot routine and go through it, actually work on my driver, and then see the results, like track results. So I hit 10 shots and I hit 4 in the fairway. Well, that's great results. Like, okay, so now for the next 10 shots, let's see if we can do a better job of aiming, maybe a better job of our pre-shot routine, and really focus on getting the ball where we want it to go. And then, okay, maybe the next 10 shots, you hit 5 or 6 in the fairway. But the key is to understand that what you're doing, it has a purpose and you're actually getting better and it's actually training you and there's something that you're moving forward in. So something like that's a great deal. But the key is that improvement starts when practice becomes intentional and structured. And I don't, as a free spirit kind of person, the word structured is not my favorite word to use, but the word structured is really a good way to explain the way that you should have a training session, whether you're at a simulator or on the range, or even if you're just at the practice green. Just have some structure, some kind of outline for what you're doing. Be like, hey, I'm going to be here for 30 minutes. I've got my lunch break from work. I'm going to go to the practice screen for 30 minutes. I'm going to work on these things. I'm not just going to randomly throw some balls around and chip and putt, whatever. I mean, that's fun. You can do that. But if you're going to really want to get that much better and have the best year you possibly can in 2026, you need to put a little bit of time into the planning and the structure of this. So you've got 30 minutes. You're on the practice screen. Like, that's all you had the time for. So let's throw 5 balls down. Let's work on simple chip shots. We're going to work on our easiest chip shots, and we're going to work on 5 yards, 10 yards, 15 and 20 yards. So that's some structure. That's just lends a little bit of structure to what you're doing, as opposed to just be like, oh, I'm just chipping over here and chipping over there and chipping over there. Do that if you don't want to get better results. But if you want to get better results, plan out what you're doing. I mean, even a little bit of structure, like, okay, for the first 10 minutes, I'm going to work on chips with my 56-degree wedge, and I'm going to work on 5 yards, 10 yards, 15 and 20 yards. That's it. Just boom, boom, boom. First 5 balls to that target. Next 5 balls to that target. And then after you get warmed up, you start doing that, then end with something that's kind of fun where you're like, okay, I've got to get let's see these 5 shots. I'm aiming at this hole. Let's see how many of those I can get within 5 feet of the hole, right? Boom, you hit 5 shots. You get 1 or 2 of those within 5 or 10 feet, whatever your parameters are. And then you're working and you're playing it as well as not just randomly out there hitting shots and not actually getting better. And same thing with the putting. This time of year in Ohio, the greens, I mean, some of them probably haven't even been mowed yet, especially with the 5 inches of rain we had the other day. But just work on putting, work on some speed, work on your putting line. Like if you were just going to go, hey, I've got 20 minutes, I'm going to work on my putting. What's the best way to structure that? I would say just the first 5 minutes, work on some kind of gate drill. And a gate drill is basically just putting a couple tees in the ground and trying to hit the ball, maybe 6 feet away, 5 feet away, whatever it is. There's fancier ways to do that with fancier tools. But I would just work on that. Like, okay, I'm trying to make a 6-foot straight putt. I've got a couple tees a few feet in front of where I'm putting from, and I'm just trying to putt the ball right straight through the gate. So any kind of gate drill is going to help you with that. Quite a bit. And then I would be like, okay, for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to work on speed. I'm going to do some speed drills, maybe put some tees down, maybe go for, a couple different things where there's like a ladder drill. There's multiple ways to work on speed, but I would be doing things like that. Like, okay, so the whole point of this, and then for like, let's say, so we'll just finish that up. So like 5 minutes of the gate drill, 10 minutes of speed drills, and then 5 minutes of actually trying to make putts. Maybe do like some kind of putting drill where you're making putts. Because the key is, what I would love to do is be like, ask you afterwards, like, hey, I spent 20 minutes on my putting. And I was like, great, what did you do? And what did you get better at? Like, oh, well, I worked on the gate drill. So I'm working on getting the ball started right on line. I worked on my speed, and then I worked on making putts. And when I was doing the making putts part, I used my full pre-shot routine. That's what I want to hear from my students, because I'm like, that's how you're going to get better. That's what you're going to do. That's how you're going to get better. If you came to me and be like, before lesson, like, hey, what'd you do this week? Oh, I spent 20 minutes on putting. Great. What'd you do? Be like, oh, I just hit a bunch of balls for 20 minutes. I'm like, that's great. But that didn't really get you closer to this goal of becoming, a scratch golfer, or breaking 80 or breaking 90 or breaking 100. So how can we structure your practice to make sure that you're actually doing the things you need to do and actually get better? And the thing about that is, like, you're going to spend 20 minutes putting one way or the other. What if you spent 3 minutes right before the 20 minutes and kind of structured it out? It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to write it out. Just put it in some notes in your phone. Be like, hey, for 20 minutes, I'm going to do this, this, and this. Or maybe you saw some fancy video, some YouTube video talking about, hey, this is a good way to practice. Awesome. Try that. But do something that's just a little bit structured to help you get that 1% better each day. And I think that'll help a lot. What actually works when you practice, again, we're talking about setting clear goals, measurable outcomes, building a pre-shot routine during your practice. I think the best thing you can practice is your pre-shot routine. And the best time to practice your pre-shot routine is not out on the course when you're playing or under competition, but is when you're practicing. So make sure, no matter what you do, whether you're practicing, hitting driver or wedges or whatever, or just chipping and putting, that you do your pre-shot routine for at least the last section of that. Like if you've got 30 minutes and you're just going to do some chipping practice around the green, maybe 5 or 10 minutes of kind of warming up, and then work on some actual, like I said, talk about doing like 5-yard, 10-yard, 15, 20 yards, like do some distance drills with some chipping. And then at the end, make sure that you're doing shots, putting yourself under a little bit of pressure, giving yourself some kind of game, like, okay, I've got to get this shot. I've got a tough lie. I've got this shot. I've got to get it within 10 feet, and do your whole pre-shot routine and picture that like you're really on the course. And that's just going to give you so much of an edge when you're actually playing. And all you have to do, it just takes a little bit of shift and a little bit of change about the way you're practicing. If you can just change it and structure it just even a little bit, it's going to make your practice work so much better and be worth so much more. So, but yeah, and then turn practice into competitive challenges. That's great if you've got some buddies, some friends where you're doing something, just put a couple bucks or like, hey, I'll bet you a Coke or whatever it is on this, and then just do some games like that. Any kind of competitive challenges are really, really, really going to help you get that much better, because that will simulate basically what it is but we're actually doing on the course. So let me see if anybody's had any comments or questions. Nobody? If you got any questions, comments, please put those in the notes below in the comments in the chat, and I'll try to answer those here in a little bit. And then that was kind of the first couple things I want to talk about. Just talk about why most golfers don't improve in practice. It's because they don't structure it. It's pretty awesome, obvious why that happens. And then what actually works in practice. I kind of went over that. So that was the first two things I want to talk about. And then the third thing is something I thought was really interesting. I talked to a guy I know. He was talking about, he had been getting lessons from one of the top um, instructors in the area, Brad Smith, super good coach. He's been coaching for, I don't know, 30, 40 years. I don't know if he's that old, but he's been coaching for a long time. Great guy. And he was talking about how he helped, how this coach had helped a student, again, a friend of mine, how he had helped him become so much better. I was like, well, what did he actually do? And what he did was he played a few holes with him and purposefully distracted him between the holes. So he would help him with the pre-shot routine. He'd help pick the target and they hit the shot. And then they get back in the cart. And then the coach would just completely distract him and talk to him about something completely different that had nothing to do with golf. And then he would go up and he'd hit the shot. And then we'd go back and distract him. And it was perfect. And the guy was like, yeah, he looked over at me. He's like, hey, we're 4 holes in and you're 2 under. Like, what are you doing? Why can't you do this all the time? And he said, see what I did there? I distracted you in between shots. And I hadn't thought about it in this way. It's something I've taught before, but it was just kind of interesting. It just kind of reminded me that we don't have the bandwidth to play if we're playing, especially in a tournament. If we're playing 4 or 5 hours, playing 18 holes, we don't have the mental capacity and the bandwidth to be thinking about golf the entire time. And whether that's, walking up from shot to shot, we really should be resetting. And the best way to reset is to think about something completely different. Some of the best rounds I know that I've tried to distract myself. I'll sing a song if I'm playing by myself, if I'm playing in a group I don't know people, or I'll just start talking to people. You don't need to be thinking about your shot the entire time that you're walking from your iron. Let's say you hit an iron shot from the fairway. You don't have to be thinking about what you're going to do with this putt from all the time that it takes you, 5 minutes, whatever, walking from your ball up to the green. Try to think about something else. Talk to your playing partners about something else. Again, we just don't have the mental capacity or bandwidth to be thinking and stressing about golf the entire 4 or 5 hours that we're playing that round. So instead, what would be better is if we could think about something completely different. And you see the pros do this all the time. Even in like pressure tournaments, pros will be sitting up there on the tee box, focused in, caddy, talk to the caddy, hit the shot, boom, do the thing. And they both hit their shots. And then as they're walking down the fairway, the caddies go somewhere else. They're not even talking to their caddies about golf or what the next shot is. And then the two players are just sitting there chatting and laughing about something. And they're talking about like what they're going to have for dinner, something completely different. Tiger Woods talks about that all the time. He would talk to his caddy about something totally different. I think they would tell dirty jokes or something. I don't know, whatever. I heard that one where, don't quote me on that, but I did hear something like that. But the key is anything to distract you from, distract you is not even the good word, just to focus on something different when you're playing, because really, each shot, you only need a few minutes, even if that, maybe a minute or two at the most, to analyze your shot, look at the lie you have, focus on your target, getting your pre-shot routine, and hit the shot. You don't need to take hours and hours and hours in between shots preparing for what you're going to do. You only need a small amount of time. And the more time that you're focusing not on the next shot you're going to hit or golf or anything like that, just look around and be like, wow, what a beautiful day. Look at the birds. And just do something completely different or think about or talk about something that's completely different that's not golf related. Will help your mind reset. It will help you focus. It'll also train you to be focused when you need to focus. And I'm all about focusing and using your mind and doing the best you can with each shot and having your best pre-shot routine you can and hit the best shot you can. But in between the shots, just allow yourself to relax. Actually enjoy the game of golf, enjoy what you're doing, and go from there. And I just think that was a really good reminder after talking to this friend of mine about that and how it's something he had learned years ago. I think he may have even learned it when he was playing high school golf. But I just think that's a really good reminder for us. Like some people don't like the music on the course. I like the music on the course because it's a great distraction. And it's great. Like a friend of mine's got one of those speakers on his cart. Now, we're not playing it too loud. Don't play it too loud, everybody, but playing some music. And so it's great. Like I go up, I analyze my shot, focus on it, pre-shot routine, hit the shot. And then, in between the shot, I'm either talking to him or listening to some music and just kind of relaxing. And I think It's a much easier way to play much better if you're able to relax in between shots. And again, we don't have the mental capacity or the mental bandwidth to be able focusing hardcore on golf for 4 or 5, sometimes 6 hour rounds. And we need a break in between. So let me see if I've got any questions here, guys. We're going to wrap this up. It was just a quick training. Looks like I've got a couple questions. Let's see. This is a great question. What do you do when your playing partner only, let's say you're playing in a match together and he only wants to talk about golf and only wants to focus on golf? That's a great question, actually. Yeah, I would just try to, just talk about something else. Just be like, hey, how are your kids doing? What are you doing? I think some people, you guys play with these people, like they play golf and they just I feel like they aren't happy unless they're unhappy. Like they're unhappy. They're so happy when they're just so mad about stuff. And it is tough. It's tough when you're playing with somebody that's bringing some energy that's, maybe negative or frustrated, or, they're throwing clubs and yelling and screaming. And actually that just makes it even more of an advantage for you to be able to relax in between holes and think about something else. Also, one quick tip, something I learned, this kind of idea, something I've taught before, but something I had kind of learned in a different way a few weeks ago. Somebody was talking about how, like, okay, so even this was non-golf related, but like, okay, so you've got somebody in a situation, whether you're working with them or whatever it is, and they're coming at you with some really big energy. They're really upset about politics or whatever the situation. They're just really upset about something, and you can just feel their energy. You're just like, oh, wow. And so what the visualization or the picture or the idea is to just picture yourself as a mirror. And, just let them reflect that back to them. Let them do their thing. Let them be upset if they want to be upset, but don't let that energy come into your body. Don't absorb that. So instead of absorbing that or trying to like, oh, it's okay, calm down, just be there for the person. Be like, okay, I'm sorry you're feeling that way, but just let that reflect off of you. So just kind of be like a mirror where you're just kind of bouncing that back off of them and letting them deal with their own stuff. Because ultimately, people get upset, especially when we play golf. So if you're the guy you're playing with against or whatever is getting upset, just do your best to just kind of not absorb that energy, let that bounce off of you, play your own game, do your best you can, enjoy it the best you can. But no, it's a great question. I appreciate you guys chiming in. I've got a new book that's coming out very soon. You guys are going to love that. Get on my newsletter, go to johnlemmon.com, check that out. It's easy to sign up for the newsletter. That'll give you, and it's free. You also get a free lesson from me, video lesson from me, which is great. And, but go on there, check it out. You'll get all the updates on next time I'm doing a live, any other training. I've got lesson specials and things like that going on. Again, I've got a book coming out here, hopefully in a couple weeks, editing and putting it together. Should be fun. So thanks so much, guys, for joining me for this quick live. And also I've had some, this is the YouTube channel. You guys really should follow me on TikTok. I've had some pretty fun stuff on TikTok. I had a video that has about 45,000 views, and it keeps going, and tons and tons of comments. It's super fun over on TikTok. I've been interacting a lot there, and it was all about. I had a three hybrid driving iron, 3-iron, and I had a 7-wood, and which could I hit better? And people had lots and lots to say about that. So, also, if you're following me on YouTube, I really appreciate it. Subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. And also check out TikTok if you're on there as well. So, all right, cheers, guys. Thanks so much for joining me, and we will catch you later. All right, bye.